Hey everybody, one of the GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Warhammer Underworlds Gnarlwood Grinkrak's Looncourt, the newest warband for Gnarlwoods, and a return to form for the Moonclan, or as I used to call them, Night Goblins. Some of my favorite miniatures of all time from Games Workshop. And you get a set of 7 incredibly cool bespoke collectible miniatures in this box, as well as a brand new Rivals deck to play Warhammer Underworlds with. So I gotta say, the models are, I think, my favorite part of this. You kind of get a goblin for every job. You have Grinkrak himself, who's an amazing looking Night Goblin boss. You have a bunch of knights, like they kind of think they're Bretonians. There's a knight on a squig, you got a squigapult, you got a musician, you got a squig on a stick, you got a just sword and shield goblin, and then, I don't know, he's got a lance and a shield. It's like his squig's been killed, as far as the goblins go themselves. Now they all come in colored plastic, so you can get ready to play right away if you're interested in playing Underworlds with them. But if you're just a collector, you know, you want to play some Mordheim Night Goblins, this is an extremely cool box of guys. They are, of course, all push fit, single pose, textured bases, and I'm actually really pumped to paint these. Just that I have a bunch of cool goblins. Like, I love playing Underworlds, but in and of itself, 7 cool new goblins to play other games with too is going to be great. Now the deck itself is interesting. It's kind of a unique composition, and right from the start we'll talk about the Rivals deck. Of course, Rivals deck is a pre-constructed 20 card deck to go along with a warband. Now this Rivals deck is unique to them and contains their symbol, and of course the construction stuff's right here. Now the interesting thing about this is actually it's all tied to their Inspire condition, and from their Inspire conditions down, there's sort of a telegraph of what these goblins are trying to do. They think they're on a quest. Grinkrak the Great is trying to take over the Gnarlwood. His whole jam is that he thinks that, he thinks that he should be in charge of the Gnarlwood, and he doesn't care if his followers die to get it for him. So he's got, these are goblins. You're not killing a lot, you're gonna die a lot, but if you get your quest done, you're probably gonna get head on glory and win the game. So your leader, Grinkrak, he's 3 movement, so he's not very fast. He's 2 defense though with shields. He's actually really relatively hard to kill for an uninspired character with 3 health. It makes him infinitely killable. Some people just one-shot him. He's got 2 hammer attack with 2 damage. And if 3 or more surviving friendly fighters are inspired, he inspires. So he's got inspired by inspiring his friends. When he inspires, what does he get? Well, not much else. I think he's pretty much the same inspired as uninspired. He does have a reaction though called Dub. Use this after you score a non-quest objective. Choose one other surviving friendly fighter and inspire that chosen fighter. So that's handy because the non-quest objectives are a lot of times harder to do or tied to having already done quest objectives. So it kind of gives him the ability as a reaction, if you do get one of them off, because they're harder to do, then you can inspire maybe that last guy you needed to then flip him as well. And then his reaction then becomes, use this after you score a non-quest objective, choose one other friendly fighter, inspire that chosen fighter. So you can keep doing it even after he's become inspired. He doesn't change though. He gets an extra, I guess he does change. He gets an extra die in his attack. Still only doing 2 damage though. Now, Snorbit to Spore. This guy finds mushrooms for everyone else to eat and then blows them on people. His Spore Trumpet has a range of 3. He's 1 less defense and 1 less health than Grinkrak. This is the pretty standard goblin defense here. 3 move, 1 shield die, and 2 health. But he can stagger at range. So stagger is like the ability to debuff at range is actually pretty powerful. You score this fighter's quest objective. Now this is the inspire for everyone else. Quest objectives are half of your objective deck, and they're played like power cards. So during your power step, instead of playing a power card, you can actually play an objective from your hand onto a character, and when they complete it, then they inspire because they've completed their quest objective. So this guy basically shouts out what he wants them to do, and then they have to go and do it. And if they do, then you get your inspire condition, and then if enough of them complete it, then he inspires. That's it. That's his whole jam. When he inspires, his 1 damage attack stays 1 damage. Like, nothing changes really. He just becomes inspired. Oh, but he gains cleave on top of stagger. So if his 3 swords manage to roll a crit, he's gonna ignore the shields, which is, I guess, cool. The spores, they get through there somehow. Pointy Burke, he's your knight on foot. Again, same core stats. Move 3, 1 shield defense, 2 health. He's got 2 swords for 1 damage with his stick at 1 range. No special rules, but when he inspires, his sticker goes to 2 damage, and he gets 2 dodge dice instead of 1 shield die. He gets you know, the confidence he needs to go and kill once he inspires. Grib Dewonki Lance, he's still got his squig, I guess, that he rides. So he's movement 4 instead of movement 3, and he's got 1 shield die and 3 health. His Wonky Lance has knockback 1, so it's 2 range, 2 looking for swords, and 2 damage. He gets +1 damage when he makes a charge action, though, because of impact with it, which is cool. So he does become damage 3. He's your highest damage hitter, basically, in the faction. The Squighorn can also be used for impact. Sorry, the Squighorn becomes damage 3, rather. It has the impact rule. It does knockback 1 on the Wonky Lance. So you attack with the Squig at range 1, it's actually 2 looking for hammers, so it's better at hitting, and becomes 3 damage on the charge. When he inspires, 3 hammers, still has impact, and looking for 3 swords for 2 damage to knock back 1 with his Wonky Lance. Movement 5, 2 looking for dodges, and still 3 health. Moonface Nags, same core stats as a regular goblin, so move 3, 1 looking for shields and 2 health. His Stabba, 1 hex range, 2 looking for swords and 1 damage. When he inspires, he gains 2 looking for dodges for his defense and 3 swords, with still 1 damage. Skulko and Pronk, these are the Squigapult guys. They're your range attack. Only movement 2 because they're carrying a big shield. 1 looking for shields and 3 health. I thought they'd give them more health because it's 2 goblins. I don't know why they didn't. Squigapult's range 3, steady, crit Nashin. 2 looking for swords and 2 damage. Crit Nashin is break one of the target's upgrades, which is actually pretty cool. And then steady, this fighter can only make this attack action once per phase, +1 range if this fighter has no move or charge token. So he becomes range 4 if he doesn't move. And then Poke and Snark. So that is a move 3, 1 looking for shields, and then he's got 3 health. He's got Nashin as well, break upgrades with his Squig Spear, and he's got a 1 range. I was surprised it wasn't 2, but then 2 looking for swords and 2 damage. When he upgrades, he gains... Oh, so these guys go to 2 shields when they upgrade and stay basically the same. He goes to 3 looking for swords, still Nashin, 4 move, and that's it. This heavy armor basically makes him harder to kill. So those are our protagonists. What are they trying to do? So the 12 objective cards you have in here, I think the first half of them are quests. Actually, even more than half. Quest. Yeah, it's 7. It's actually not 6, it's 7 of them are quest goals. So quests, arm yourself, dual quest. You can give this to a friendly fighter that has no tokens or quests in the power steps. You only have 1 quest per goblin at a time. In place of playing a card. So you also don't draw a replacement objective into your hand. If this fighter's taken out of action, you add this back to your hand, even if you have more than 3 objective cards in your hand. You score an end phase if this fighter has 2 or more upgrades and they're in enemy territory. So you just got to try and get upgrades out and onto him. So pretty easy to control. And then you inspire. Looncourt, Scragam, dual quest. You can give this to a friendly fighter that has no tokens or quests in the power step. In place of playing a card, don't draw a replacement. And then you add it back just like a normal. Score this in end phase if this fighter has adjacent to 2 or more fighters, and 1 or more of those fighters is a friendly fighter. So basically Swarm. This one's really easy to get your objectives going early on. You want to have that one in your hand because it's just model placement. No dice are required. Then Mob 'em, Surge Quest. Score this immediately after a supported friendly fighter's successful attack action if this fighter made that attack action or supported that fighter. So just, again, you can telegraph Looncourt, Scragam, and then Mob 'em. 2 good ones to start off with. It is Surge Quest. Score this immediately after an enemy fighter's attack action targets this fighter and fails. So you want to give it to one of the higher defense guys, and then maybe stick them in cover. Pick on a get your own side, Surge Quest. Score this immediately after this fighter's attack action that takes the target out of action if the target has a higher wound characteristic than this fighter. So that's pretty common because, you know, goblins. Run them down. Score this immediately after this fighter's successful attack action that's made as part of a charge action. So I got a good one for the guy on the card. And then that's ours, that is. Score this in an end phase if this fighter is holding an objective with the same number as the current round number. So you're looking to try and score 1 to 3. So it's actually like a score 1 to 3. You could just, if you've got 1 in your hand during deployment, you could just put a guy on it and it's round 1 and you just score it. So this one, Mob 'em and Looncourt, Scragam, those 3 are probably good ones to have in your hand early on to start that objective game going. And then non-quest objectives, Small Glories. Score this in an end phase if each surviving friendly fighter is inspired or has an upgrade. Late game scoring for 2. Quest and Gets, Hybrid. Score if this is in an end phase if there are 3 or more quest cards in your scored objective pile, or your warband holds 1 and 2. So you could do it early or do it late, which is cool. Meanest of them all, score this immediately after a friendly leader's attack action takes a target out of action. Cool, so if Grinkrak kills somebody. Looncourt Infestation, score this immediately after an activation if there's more friendly fighters in another player's territory than there are the player's fighters in that territory, or you hold 1, 2, and 3. I like that there's hybrid scoring on those ones too. Especially if you're taking casualties, you know what I mean, over the course of the game. Because you're goblins, you're going to die. And then Looncourt Conquest, duel. Score this in an end phase if 3 or more friendly fighters are in enemy territory, and each of those fighters is inspired or has an upgrade. Again, a good late game one for 3 this time around. So an interesting mix, right? Because you have to telegraph who is doing what. Like you have to put it in a power step, but you're going to put them out during your opponent's power step typically, and then just immediately go do them. So they're not as, it might seem like you have to kind of telegraph what you're doing to score, but very often if you're just playing them as a power step card during your opponent's power, if they're going first, you almost kind of want to go second with these guys. You're going to get to start scoring early if you've got one of those 3 first cards in your hand that are just positional and stuff. All right, let's take a look at power cards. I got the power. So these are our power cards, and we'll go to our upgrades. Our ploys, and then we'll go to our upgrades. So Bold Pylon, choose up to 2 friendly fighters, put each chosen fighter up to 2 hexes so that they're adjacent to the same enemy fighter. Again, you can literally use this to score, where is it? The one I liked. Not these ones. Mob 'em, right? Or Looncourt Scrag 'em. Enthusiastic Dubbing, choose 1 friendly, he's hitting them. Choose 1 friendly fighter adjacent to the friendly leader, deal damage to them, and then inspire them. So you can just half their health, but I mean, it doesn't matter because most things just kill them. Giddish Celerity, so if you're fast, choose 1 friendly fighter that has a quest card, +2 move for that fighter. This effect persists until the end of the phase or until you score that card. Giddish Ferocity, choose 1 friendly fighter that has a quest card, +1 dice to that fighter's range 1 and 2 attack actions. This effect persists until the end of the phase or until you score that card. So a good one to give to the guy in a squig or this guy with the spear. Giddish Resilience, choose a friendly fighter that has a quest card, +1 defense to that fighter. Good to score This effect persists until the end of the phase or until you score that card. Healing Spores, just heal somebody. I mean, it's restricted to Snorbo. He can just play it as long as he's still alive. Cool. To each friendly fighter though, so I mean, you don't have a lot of health, but healing everybody's cool. He just blows the gnarlwood like methamphetamines all over the dungeon. Pocket Squig, choose 1 friendly fighter, scatter 2 from that fighter's hex, and deal 1 damage to 1 enemy fighter and a hex in the chain because you throw a squig at him. It's Pocket Squig. That's the king of the hill. Pocket Sand. Sound the Charge for Snorbo. Push each friendly fighter in your territory up to 1 hex towards the nearest enemy fighter. That's a cool one to have in your hand first turn just to get people moving. Stab, Stab, and Stab again. Reaction, use this after a friendly fighter's attack action, in which they made 1 or more failed attack actions. They can then make an attack action. Just keep stabbing. I don't know, Morty, I just love killing. And then Stick the Boots in. Again, a good one for when you're outnumbering for it's not Scrag 'em, it's Mob 'em. Use this after a friendly fighter's activation. If that fighter is adjacent to 1 or more vulnerable enemy fighters that are adjacent to 1 or more other friendly fighters, choose each one of those vulnerable fighters and deal damage to the chosen fighter. So if you get somebody down to 1, you just kill them, which is great. Finish you off. So often if you only get down to 1 health, I mean, these guys are low damage output, that's going to be the case. That's a really handy card to have just in your pocket late game. All right, let's look at the upgrades. Despicable Cad. Again, there's not a lot of these are restricted. I think Cunning Advances and Magnificent Bounda is. Most of these can go on anybody. That's it. So 10 out of 12 can go on anybody. Or 10 out of 8 out of 10. Because it's not 12. 12 is objectives. 10 for these. So Despicable Cad, this fighter's range 1 attack actions have Cleave. In addition, fighters supported by this fighter are considered to have 1 additional supporting fighter. Again, good for scoring the outnumbering one. Downtrodden Squire, reaction after this fighter's move action. Choose 1 friendly fighter that was adjacent to the fighter that started the action and push them. So you get to Sancho Ponchos. No. Oh my God. Sancho Panza. Sancho Panza? Yes. The Squire of, what's his name? The Squire of Don Quixote. Sancho Panza. I'm saying that? Oh my God. I just had like a complete, I've read that book like 3 times. I can't remember his name. Reaction after this fighter's move action, yeah, you drag him with you, basically. Extra Pointy Boots, +1 damage to your range 1 attack action. So that's a great way of picking the guy that you want to have be your hitter. Fortifying Fungus, look at me spitting out on mushrooms. When this fighter's dealt damage, reduces damage by 1 to a minimum of 1. All right, gonna go all Joe Rogan. Cunning Knight, +1 damage to this fighter's attack action while this fighter has 1 or more supporting fighters. So again, a good one for Scrag him or mob him. Legbiter, Hamstrings. This is an extra weapon. You can see it's like I think it's actually supposed to be like a Stormcast sword maybe. It's got like an engraving that looks like it's maybe like a good guy sword. Range 1, two hammers doing 2 damage with Hamstring. Hamstring, give the target 1 move token. Reaction, which means they can't charge anymore. Reaction, after you score a friendly fighter's quest card, if this card's in your hand, give the upgrade to that friendly fighter. That's awesome. So basically, if you score that quest, you can hand it that upgrade for free. Quest 10, look at all high five and +1 wound. Reaction, after you score a friendly fighter's quest card, if this card is in your hand, give it to the friendly fighter. Just +1 wound, no big deal. Wicked Slitta, it's got Grievous 1, which is cool if you crit, and it's 3 looking for swords. You can fish for crits, doing 1 damage. And a Cunning Advance, this is for the boss. Action, push each inspired friendly fighter up to 2 X's. That one being early is such a big late game scoring one where you have to be in territories, be on objectives, be on 1, 2, 3 or something like that. Cunning Advance, if you can get that early on, definitely do it. And then Magnificent Bounda, flying for your squig, and +1 move. Give Squig Man is a horned ball of teeth and muscle. So I really like this. Again, I don't know how... My one thought with this is, how do you ever inspire these guys if you're playing a Rivals deck that's universal? It feels a little weird. They feel like they don't play well into the universal system a little bit. They want to use their Rivals deck because their Inspire condition is tied to their objective cards. So you could definitely build like a Nemesis deck using universal cards, but they probably are going to struggle a little bit in the Rivals system using universal decks. And while I don't mind that because I love how thematic their objectives are and their ploys and upgrades, I feel like it is kind of, I don't know, it just the tone of that is weird. Having just like made these universal decks and given us all reason to play with other ones, this one in particular feels slightly hamstrung because you're literally never going to inspire playing just a core universal deck with this warband. So it's a bit cognitively dissonant, but I mean I guess the prize at the bottom of that is that you've got this really thematic, fun, goblin-y goblin deck. And you know, as anyone who plays goblins universally in every game, like I've met a lot of hobbyists in my time. There's some guys who just play goblins and everything. They'll make whole grot armies in 40k. They will play snotlings and goblins in Blood Bowl. They will do nothing but add, they will just find a way to add goblins to every single game they play. Those goblin players aren't going to care. They're just going to play with this deck and be happy. So I guess it's not going to really matter. And the models are fantastic. I'm super excited about them. They're very cool. So there it is, my GMG review of Grinkrak's Looncourt Rivals deck. It does feel like they're flimsy, but if they can get momentum going because they have so many positioning scoring pieces, they could have a pretty powerful Rivals deck. They don't seem versatile too, though, because they're tied to this Rivals deck, which is maybe a long-term downside if you're looking at a warband that you want to get a bunch of replayability out of, because they're not going to do as well using the universal decks afterwards. So if you love goblins, though, you don't care because you're going to paint these goblins because they're awesome, and play the warband deck because it's fun and it involves a megalomaniacal guy with little man syndrome thinking that the root system under a giant alive wood in a chaos waste is his. Yeah, so there you go. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see even more GMG reviews in the future. Till I'm Ash. Have a good day. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that video. There are tons of other games already recorded for you to watch. Click over to my channel page if you haven't already, and have a look through the dozens of playlists full of videos. I guarantee you'll discover a game you haven't seen played before. I put out new videos 7 days a week, and every day is themed to a different genre as I continue to explore the wider world of gaming. Of course, none of that's possible without you, the viewer, so click a like and subscribe if you'd like to stay on top of what's happening here daily. My 2 kids and I are massively grateful to be able to have the flexibility of this job so I can always maximize my time with them. If you want to support me continue to put out this content, it's only possible because of my amazing backers on Patreon who support the studio, equipment, and model cost, as well as being how I make the bulk of my living. You can also help out by buying a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, a measuring gauge or widget from Death Ray Designs, or buying one of my games and supplements like Last Days, Gamma Wolves, and Blaster. As a way of showing my appreciation, patrons get early access to new games and supplements that I write throughout the course of the year. Huge thanks for watching, it really does help out, and happy gaming.